Hello, and welcome to Connect the Work. This is part 2 of our episode 5. Last time we spoke with Kyan and Jackson, and today I'm super excited to introduce our next guest. Our guest this episode is Dr. Christina Santos, an education research lead and specialist on RIASEC. So let's get into the interview. As we get started, would you like to introduce yourself, a little bit of your career background, how you maybe ended up where you are now? And before that, just thank you again for willing to speak with me and speak with us. We're very excited to have you. So yeah, your name, a little bit about your background and how you became who you are now.
Thank you. Well, I'm honored to be here. My name is Christina Santos, or Dr. Christina Santos. I've just finished a PhD on career
Congratulations.
conversations. Thank you. So I'm not so used to the doctor part of it. But why am I here and doing this work? I they say that your purpose is either born from frustration or from
Mm.
appreciation, and mine was from frustration. And it was because in school, and in my case, it was in Portugal, things were very teacher-led. There was no support, or rarely there was any support as to where we should go next. And so because I didn't have that support, we relied on our connections, on the advice we would get from our family. And uh and so I thought it was a shame because I would feel around myself, and including me, a lack of motivation in the learning
Mm.
in school, because people were just doing because they had to do. And so for that reason, my first choice as a career was to become a teacher, because I loved science and I loved to to work with people. I decided to take that step. And I loved it, and I've done it for 12 years. But while I was teaching in schools and taking on other leadership responsibilities, there was always a common responsibility through my career, which was to bring connections to schools and to help students really understand why they were learning what they were learning.
Mm.
So I would bring a lot of organize a lot of career talks, and I would get students to visit, to go to conferences, to take workshops, to experience as much as possible, to get to explore as much as possible, and to allow them to make connections, expose them more than give them the information already chewed. And I could see visible effects on their academic progress, but mostly on their sense of purpose. And that's when I decided that I should do a little bit of research on the side, and eventually it led me to do a PhD in career conversations. But alongside getting students exposed, I also saw that there was this element of them having the reflection time to understand what they were experiencing, their feelings around it,
Mm.
and what that meant in terms of their choices, both in the short and in the long run. And I realized that those conversations were already happening informally with teachers, and they were happening with teachers that they felt comfortable with. So I started realizing that teachers were key to help students make sense of things. And so my PhD and now this work was very centered on career conversations with teachers, um, for reflection, to glue everything together. So yes, that's me and why I'm here.
That's amazing. Wow, that is really cool. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
sharing that. Um, if you don't mind, I think I'll jump right into the first question then.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I am super excited to get a more research-based answer to these questions. I know you mentioned in our emails, so I'm really, because I haven't, in any of the episodes that we've recorded, we haven't had that perspective yet. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. Okay. Um,
Absolutely.
how do you
engage and encourage students to take ownership of their career planning while still providing guidance, or how have you seen others do this in education?
So from a research perspective, what we have been seeing, and especially in places where career conversations are a normal part of the education journey, um, what was realized is that career conversations made most difference when students were able to make sense of their emotions rather than
Mm.
add more information or give them just another place to go to next. It was when they made sense of where of what they felt about experiencing certain things, or of how they would or where they would like to be next, that
Mm.
things made a difference, not only for the student because they would then understand where they really wanted to go next, but also for the teacher and the advising support they would get, because then they would know where to differentiate for students and how to personalize things better. So in saying that, and the way I believe students start to get ownership is when they start realizing that it's normal to have bad feelings about things and good feelings about other things. And
Ah.
it's in knowing how to navigate um, by um, normalizing feelings that they start thinking, okay, it's normal, so I'm accepted, so I can go here next because this is where I'm excited. This is where my
Mm.
excitement is. And once they start feeling excited, and feeling that they have a voice and that their voice matters in their own journey, then they start navigating it. So, of course, this is alongside knowing what the options are and what's available to them. So, yes, I would say not just information and laying out the options, but allowing them to navigate themselves.
Wow. Yeah. I'm even thinking, because I think I had like an aha moment, even as you were just talking, like, especially with emotions. Like, for me, I want to be an engineer when I grow up, specifically an Imagineer. So, working with Disney and theme parks. And I never really put two and two together why I do math class and why I do physics and kind of tie into engineering, because math feels for me very unemotional. It's just numbers. It's adding things together, subtracting things together. But I think the outcome of why I like engineering and why I like building is putting the math with it and then tying, like you said, emotions and feelings towards it. So being able to create something and build something with math and engineering that will allow other people to feel happy or to be excited or to have like those joyous memories on like a Disney ride. I think I'm just having like my own thoughts and
Yeah.
my own journey. And I think that really just kind of made something click in my own mind,
Click.
even as you're saying this, because I'm like, wow, now I see why it all goes together. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And also accepting that there's always a part of
Mm.
what we would like that is more, it's boring or it's less exciting, but
Mm.
so is life,
Yeah.
everything in life. But the fact that you can find a purpose for yourself, but also for the things you do, just like you did now, and this whole process that you did is exactly what a career conversation should be about, to allow you to reflect, and to see where you are emotionally, and that it starts making sense and it starts making you get wings, really.
Yeah.
So long as you get that, we gave you the roots in the sense that
Yeah.
we give you the options and the tools, then you should really get those wings and go.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm going to go on to our next question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
How important is flexibility in career planning for students today? And how have you seen that in your research?
So adaptability is becoming the new measure of career success. as
Mm.
more than it is knowing what jobs are out there and knowing which jobs you would like to have. It's definitely a measure of how adaptable are you to change, and will you be as performative after the change as you were before. And it's inevitable that change will happen, and more it will happen at a higher rate, be it because you have had things in your life outside of career changing, like having a baby or having to change places geographically, or within your career you get new responsibilities and suddenly you're having a different role and different skills to develop, or because your environment changed somehow. It might be that some people left and new people came in, and suddenly you have to know how to navigate your role in a different way. So change is inevitable, and success comes from being adaptable. So if students aren't prepared to accept that and to know how to navigate change um, comfortably, then they will have higher difficulty. And I think much of that work comes from accepting that change is inevitable. And there's other levels of flexibility you have to have with yourself, for example. What you might imagine for yourself today might not be the same in 6 months' time or 5 years' time. In fact, that's going to happen all your life. So if you're not prepared for that, um, adaptability, both within yourself and with regards to your career, then it's going to be harder. So I think there is an element there of career education or guidance or whatever you would like to call it, that we are still missing. And it's in helping students feel comfortable with change.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially now too, with the introduction of a lot of different elements in our life, like the introduction of AI, the introduction of all these different really cool and useful tools, but how that's going to affect the job market and how it's going to affect future careers. Is it going to make future careers? Is it going to take away some jobs? That's going to be really interesting to see. But I think flexibility, like you said, is really key. Is I like the way you put that change is inevitable. I think that's really, really powerful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. My third question is, what role should schools play in helping students regularly update their career plans?
The rule is a very simple one, which is to build reflection moments as frequently as possible in every class a student has, or even a conversation. If a reflection moment is built in so that a student has an opportunity to take stock of where they are now and where they're going next and why, then it will be much easier for that student to communicate that whenever necessary, or even to themselves. So if the school is not doing that, it will be very difficult for a student to even make sense to themselves, let alone explain it to someone else if a moment comes for that. So yes, I believe reflection moments and career conversations are key again for that. But it doesn't have to be a career conversation. It could be at the end of a lesson, a class, where a student just looks at which skills they have developed until then in terms of what strengths do I have now? How do I know that? So where do I base these conclusions on? So what's the evidence? What have I experienced? How have I felt about it? What are my next steps? It could be doing things that basically um, put the, place those strengths and make them apply those strengths. But it could be things or experiences where they develop other skills so that they too become strengths. It could be anything. But I believe that if a school is not helping a student justify to themselves first why they say they are in that place now and why they say they want to do certain steps next, then a student will be not able to do that to someone else. So yes, I would believe reflection moments.
Wow, yeah, for sure. Thank you. What changes would you like to see in how schools approach career planning with students? And I, this is not on our our list of questions, but I was curious as because at my school it seems like there is like the College and Career Center, which is where we go for all the career conversations and possible job opportunities, job shadowing, etc. But it feels like that is its own center, and that's kind of disconnected from our classrooms. How would you, do you have any advice to schools, or how would you like to see that bridge kind of, or that gap kind of bridged between the distinction from a career center and the everyday classroom? Sorry, that was like
Well,
two
that's
questions.
what you're asking. It's one of the most important questions right now in research is how are we optimizing what we already have? Because a lot of the efforts, many of the times, goes into what else could we do, rather than well, how can we make the different islands, basically, of career guidance work together and collaborate. And in collaboration, we could have a lot of um, outcomes for students, but also for the system. So going first onto the question of how could a career center work with a school, I mean, the desirable ways of collaborating would again look at the strengths of each and just merge them. For example, a teacher will know a student much better because they contact with that student much more often than people in a career center, but a career center will probably have a richer information and more updated information and unbiased information on what jobs are out there and what skills are necessary, what the requirements are. So if any, a teacher will probably be able to communicate the needs of a student, while the career center will be much quicker in finding the solutions for those needs, particularly if a student is looking at exploring and experiencing in the different careers. So yes, I think it would be ideal if there was someone managing those relationships and those collaboration partnerships for the sake of students, really.
Thank you. Yeah.
But it's possible.
Yes, for sure. I think it's just a matter of time till
I think so.
those
I
things
think so.
all come together. Yeah.
But
Amazing.
your other question was what would be necessary changes, right, in schools?
Yeah. And what would you like to see in how schools approach career planning with students?
Right now, we see a diversity on how career support is provided in schools. In the Orange County context, we see several initiatives. We have the apprenticeship program. We have different programs. We are starting the career conversations driven by teachers in and outside of the classrooms. So there's a lot of change already happening, and we all know that change takes time. But if I could say, okay, the next step is, it would be to allow for the powerful conversations to take place where rapport already exists, so where relationships are already established. A student will be much more able to take more out of a reflection moment and make themselves vulnerable and express themselves openly if there is already trust with the person they're doing this with. And while I know that in Orange County we are doing career conversations in as a group and in classrooms, and where students are discussing with teachers and peers, if there could be individual dialogue, those probably would allow for deeper reflection and deeper listening to the student, and therefore a better measurement of the student needs. And when we do that, when we really have that dialogue where students are able to express themselves and drive the conversation, it's incredible this type of information we get in how to support that student. For instance, we take for granted that students feel confident in doing the things that they said they would be doing next time. Many students don't. Many students say they will, but they then don't feel confident. It could be that they don't have anyone else to be an example for them, or it could just be that they feel that their success is not a product of themselves, but actually it's a luck product or someone else. So it's not always because a student needs to know more, or that a student needs to talk more. Sometimes support is more than that. It's more personal. It's at other levels, like at the confidence level, or it could be that a student just needs to know how to communicate, self-advocate, and they don't. So all of this is knowledge that we assume students have, and this assumed knowledge is not always there. In fact, many times isn't. So going back to and summarizing the things I believe schools could do if there is and when there is opportunity is having one-to-one dialogue, is deeply listening to students, is it's really understanding what needs there are, and it's not just in terms of careers, but also in self-advocation and in confidence to go forward. So yeah.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned the like relationship with the teacher, because I think that's really important. And I've noticed in my educational career, the teachers that I've had the most career conversations with are the ones that I've had like a good relationship with. Like I felt like they're a mentor more than a teacher, kind of talking about what I can do in the future. Like my engineering teacher from middle school, my high school engineering teacher, my football coach, my Japanese teacher. I feel like because I had a good relationship with them, and there was trust and there was a sense of, I felt like they really did care for me and my future, we were able to have a lot of career conversations. And those teachers have really impacted, I think, the rest of my life. So that's really, again, another aha moment that I'm having in our conversation is those relationships with teachers and how that correlates with future careers and just the conversations that we have as they're deep about what our futures can be. So that's another, I'm having a lot of aha moments talking with you.
But
So thank
also,
you.
do you believe that because those were the people you felt most comfortable with, do you believe that somehow it also helped you have those strong emotions toward engineering and towards,
Yeah.
things that actually are tied to the identity of those same people?
Yes,
Uh,
for sure. And I think even because I noticed that when someone else is passionate about something, I tend to then be passionate about learning about it. So I think because those teachers and my coach were so passionate about what they were teaching and what they were coaching, that I was drawn in by kind of
uh-huh.
their energy and their excitement about it. And then I felt those emotions as well. So I think that's a reason why I may be interested in all this, because these are the people that were passionate about it and they taught me their passion. So I think, yeah.
And I think that's what you've said is very positive. but there is also an element of trying to then helping a student take a step back and think, is what I want really what I want, or was it influenced by what other people want?
Yeah.
Is what I want internal?
Mm.
And so that's the next level of career conversations, right? Is to
Mm-hmm.
find out what really is motivating a student, right?
Yeah.
Have you processed all of those aspirations to be your own rather than someone else's, inherited?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's the next level, but that
Mhm.
probably is another conversation.
No, for sure. That's really interesting. That's like the other side of the coin is that there can be negative implications of the opposite of what
And
I've
or not,
I've
and
yeah.
or not, because many times we inherit things that will help us
Mm-hmm.
develop in many ways. And, realizing later on that actually I would have preferred to do something else. I understand
Mm,
that now. So I'm going to try and do that other thing. It's not a bad thing. You've done a journey until then that you were excited about. And I think trying to be perfectionists in finding the one thing that we have full ownership of, and it's not, it's not always possible. In fact, the majority of times is not possible. I am I've done a lot of things in my career. I've changed careers recently, and I still not sure whether I'm going to change again. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
And it's a given that there's never going to be full certainty. However, what's really important is that in that very moment you are excited about it, and if that's the
Mm.
case, then you are in the right place.
Wow, that's really beautiful. I like that a lot. Thank you. I have one more question, and
Okay.
that is, how do you support students who don't know what they want to do yet? And maybe from more of a research perspective, how have you seen teachers or educators support students when they don't know really what career they want to go into yet?
I don't think it is a bad thing not to know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, the research foci in career guidance is very vast. We still have, and I mean, depending on context, but the majority of schools in the US and in other places of the world is still very focused on having students make decisions.
Mm.
And decisions should not be made for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there are gap years where a student goes and experiences things to get to learn about themselves and learn about their emotions on things. That's why a student at university will change courses when they eventually have experienced the course that they really wanted to some years ago, and realize that actually out of that experience they've had not so positive emotions.
Mm.
So if anything, what is really driving students to feel more motivated in their career development journey is getting students to experience and
Mm.
explore. Those are the main things to help students get to find out about themselves, where they feel excited and where they feel less excited.
Mm.
So that's where schools should be putting the most effort, is having a variety of career exploration options for students and encouraging them to experience things in careers. It could be through doing part-time work, volunteering work, through job shadowing, but also explore by learning through talking to someone doing different jobs, or going to career talks or workshops or even conferences, or learn through just asking AI. It could be anything, but if students aren't exposed to feeling things, then how will they know, right? And again, we come back to the concept of, so long as a student or a person, let's talk about individuals, so long as person is feeling excited about what they're doing now, then they are in the right place. So the focus shouldn't be so much, what are you going to do one day? Let's do everything for you to get there. Is more, are you sure that's the thing you want? How do you know? Let's explore, let's experience, let's see how you feel about it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And we are seeing that now in research. For example, we are working with schools, not schools, but with the team for career advising in Maryland, Montgomery. And we've just finished a round of data analysis. And there is over 2 months, the same pattern is coming up, which is where students experienced and explored more about careers, they became more certain, so more confident that what they imagined for themselves is what they're going to do one day. They also became more engaged in wanting to do more, or more engaged with the advising process, and more invested in doing more. So it is coming up in research, both from our findings and from prior research in other contexts that is not US.
Yeah, that's really cool. I always love to see how I love data and research and all that stuff. So I love to see how there's data and research even behind like emotions, because I don't think that I personally haven't seen that a lot. And so I think it's really cool that because I think for sometimes school tends to take away emotions and it's just school. And so even in high school, that's what I tend to feel. But I love how we're bringing and celebrating emotions, and bringing research to back that up, and data is just, that makes me very happy and very excited. So I'm very grateful to talk with you, and thank you again for taking the time to speak
You're
with.
welcome. We hope to be able to tell more of this story as we
Mhm.
now get the data from the students at Orange County. And so watch this space to know more about that.
Yeah, amazing. Well, is there any last remarks or advice or anything that we didn't touch upon earlier that you really want to share with us?
I know, I believe we covered the most important. But again, I think we just need to really get to know our students well. And you don't have to be uh, a teacher who contacts with the student every day. But if in a minute you are able to just listen to the student, you will learn a lot about the ways you and the school can support that student.
Amazing. Well, that's all of my questions. So
All right.
thank you so much for
Thank you, Rylee. It
joining me.
was an absolute pleasure. And yes, I can't wait to listen to what the students will say in this episode.
Yes, thank you. I cannot share how grateful I am. It's truly been an honor to speak with you. And I know you're
One.
probably very busy, so thank you for taking the time.
All right. And nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
All
Okay.
right. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you so
Rylee.
much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope we made career conversations a little more normal today, and we'll see you next time. Bye!